Hello everybody, I am Heather with Get Fit Go Figure. We are waiting for Jenny Baker to join me on here. While we are doing so, I will share with you my fun little tidbit that came in the mail today. My pro card from the PNBA, which is super exciting. I will be competing in the Olympia on Saturday the 15th or 14th, I think, of November. It is in Vegas. I'm super excited to go. And I'll be competing in sports model and then masters bikini, which is the pro cards that I earned this year. So very excited. I'm going to get Jenny Baker on here. If I can move this. Oh, there we go. So yes, so cheer me on and wish me luck because I'm going to Vegas, party people. Hey, Jenny.
Did you just say you're going to the Olympia?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting. Are you so excited?
I'm super excited.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, good luck. I can't wait to hear how you do.
Yeah, and it'll be really fun. What I'm excited about, and I'm really most excited about, is all the girls that competed at Michigan who you saw, like Alana Kuhlman and Misty Westford and all these ladies that also competed at Mayhem are going to Olympia. So, Courtney Spieth is going. So it'll be a fun group of Midwest girls heading out there. So there'll be people I know instead of, you just kind of going out there and being a bunch of sea of strangers. So I am very excited. My mom is going to come with me. We're going to live it up.
That's awesome. Well, good luck. I can't wait to hear how it goes.
Yeah.
I know you'll do great.
So. We'll see. I'm excited. But yeah, so I got that pro card in the mail. I was like,
woohoo!
About that. Totally. Cool. Well, tonight we're going to talk about reverse dieting. And I know Jenny has a bunch of questions. So we're just going to have a conversation about reverse dieting and what happens post-show or post-diet.
Right. So I am going to kind of lead the conversation tonight to do things a little bit backwards. So I'll be asking Heather the questions since for me, I'm pretty well versed in helping people lose weight. But when it comes to people, it's not necessarily gaining weight. I guess it is gaining weight. Heather is more of the expert in this field. So I feel like it would be better if she took on the role of answering most of the questions, though I certainly will give my input too, since I have reverse dieted myself. Hi, Amanda. I just see that you checked in. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us. So, Heather, for those of us, for the people joining us who don't know what reverse dieting is, can you give us an idea? Because when I think of reverse dieting, those two words do not go together. So explain to us what that means.
Yeah, absolutely. So reverse dieting is basically a transition point between being in a calorie deficit to maintenance calories, but it can also be a point to where some people actually are in very low calories and are maintaining, where we can fire up their metabolic rate and slowly increase calories over time. And there's some caveats to that too, which we'll talk about as we go. But it's basically that transition to get calories up, get the metabolism fired up. The metabolism is run by all your hormones in there. So we need the body to signal that you are basically not starving and it's okay, and they can release hormones to keep burning those calories, basically. Very simply put.
Okay, so when I think of reverse dieting, mainly I think of people who are coming out of contest prep, because people who are doing shows normally get super lean, so they've dropped their calories way below what they would normally do to maintain just a normal healthy body weight. So besides people who do competitions, which those as well, so if any of you are watching that compete, please keep listening. This is you too. But are there people beyond the traditional competitor that can benefit from reverse dieting, and if so, who?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good question. For people that have dieted down to lose fat and had decreased their calories or increased their cardio to a point where they reach their goal, now where do you go? And we get in our society, people get into a lot of trouble with yo-yo dieting for this reason. So they end up, there's actually an infographic I pulled up. So they end up, I'll explain it and then show, but you diet down, and then you get to your goal, and then you go back to the lifestyle you are at. So you're not counting anymore. You've lost your weight, and you're like, woohoo, let's go and party and have drinks and eat pizza. Well, then you gain back weight, but your metabolic rate hasn't caught back up yet because you actually gained it back pretty quickly. So now your metabolism is down here and your weight is up here. So now you're going to diet down again, but you can't get back to the point you lost before because your metabolic rate isn't, it's slowed down. So then you lose some weight. You might have lost half the weight that you gained. You get frustrated, you quit, you go back, you gain even more weight than what you started with. And it ends up being this yo-yo. So I have, if I can reverse this. Do I know how to reverse this when I have it on double screen? Oh, yes, I do. Okay. Technology. All right. So on this particular article I posted on reverse dieting, this is what happens with yo-yo diets. So you might start here with your weight and then you lose it. And then you kind of are left to your own devices to get back to a normal life. Well, your normal life gets you back here, so you gain all this weight back. You try to diet down. You can't lose as much as before because your metabolic rate has slowed. You go back to normal life again, and you gain more weight than you even started, and you keep doing that, and you end up way up here with your weight, and your metabolism is way down here. So this precision nutrition infograph is actually another really nice one. This blue line is the metabolic rate. So, and the red line is your weight. And the calorie intake is this little dotted line right here. So as you decrease your calorie intake, you've also lost weight, which is the red line. Well, over time, your metabolism adapts, which is this blue line. So if you don't come back up and slowly add food back in, we end up gaining more weight, this red line, than we even started, but our metabolic rate has slowed just a little bit, okay? Then we try to diet back down, so we reduce calories again. You might lose weight, but your metabolism adapts to that. Now it's even slower. So when you go back to eating normal life, you gain all that weight back and more, and your metabolic rate is down here, which is lower than where you started. So this is the yo-yo dieting conundrum right here, and it's a big problem. So that infograph is on precisionnutrition.com/reverse-dieting. It's a pretty good one. And then this other article I'll link in the notes on getfitgofigure.com, reverse dieting. So refer to that a few times. There's some great examples on there, but it's great for those people that have dieted down and need to get back up to a normal metabolic rate. Now, some people will be like, Heather, I'm eating 1,500 calories a day and I'm not losing any weight. Well, are you tracking that consistently? Are you really eating 1,500 calories? And you wrote an article. What was it called on that? Are you tracking what post was that you wrote, Jenny?
Oh, was it about underreporting?
Yes, underreporting. So Jenny wrote this great post on the website, and it was regarding underreporting calories. And people actually do underreport a lot. It's very common. I've had people tell me and be very adamant about their caloric intake. And then once we actually start weighing food and tracking effectively at those calories, they start losing and they're starving. So they're really eating twice as much. And that's a pretty good post. So you should go take a look at that too on getfitgofigure.com. Was it titled Underreporting?
I don't, you may not losing weight, you may be doing these mistakes. Anyway, we'll post it in the comment section below on this video or in this on Facebook, and then you can refer to it there. I just want to interject for those of anyone watching who maybe isn't counting macros or not really well versed in dieting or the scientific whatever when we're talking about adaptations. So what Heather's trying to say is the body is an amazing machine and that it likes things at the status quo all the time. So the moment you're doing something that takes it out of its comfort level, to put it in a layman's terms, I guess.
We're out of homeostasis.
Yes, homeostasis is the the formal word, your body will adapt or adjust to accommodate those changes you made. So in the case of dieting down, you're eating less calories. What does your body do in response? Well, A, it loses weight, or or it will make you very tired. You might find that you're eating, cravings are more, whatever. And that's your body trying to get you to please get back to where you were. And if you don't follow it, then it's going to adjust to where you're at and make that kind of the new baseline, if you will. So once you decide, oh, I don't want to be at this baseline anymore, you can't just go back up, because now you've just forced your body to adapt or adjust to that new normal for itself. So what reverse dieting is slowly forcing the body to adapt to your new normal. So, but you can't do that very fast. So people who compete are really, what do I want to say, have a reputation for doing this. You step off the stage, you've been counting every single calorie you've been eating all this time, and then you hear it all the time as an athlete. So where are you going to eat? Or isn't it great to eat normal again? And you can't. If you eat normal, if you go right back to where you started, your body is down here thinking this is the normal. So it be the equivalent of you eating normally like you would have, and then adding hundreds of calories. So reverse dieting is kind of a way to force your body to adapt back up. Now, with that being said, I am not going to claim that I am not guilty of not reverse dieting when maybe I should. So Heather, I need your help here. Maybe some of you can relate out there, but I haven't competed in 3 years. I don't know that I will compete, but I always say I train as though I'm going to compete, just in case. But because of that, I want to build muscle. And because I am afraid to add any calories in for fear that I will get fluffy in my mind. I have a certain look I want to achieve, and I know that sounds very vain, but that's the truth. I train people, so I want to look the part. But anyway, so Heather, what do you say to people like me who want to gain more muscle but are afraid to do so because they're afraid of getting fluffy? How do you know that you can do that? Like, what do I do? Do I add in 100 calories, 200 calories? So what would that process look like?
Yeah, that's a big fear for a lot, especially a lot of females that I work with. They'll go into their off season. I'll be like, all right, I got it. We might reverse for a month, and then, they're comfortable to go on their own. And they end up staying at, a person that's very muscular.
Know that you
five,
can do
six.
that. Like, what do I do? Do I
I'm sorry,
add in
Heather.
100 calories?
That's okay.
Sorry.
Like, what is happening? So say a female, she's 5'6" and 140 pounds, and she's very muscular, figure person, whatever. And she stays eating 1,800 calories in the off season, the whole time. That becomes a problem because, as Jenny had explained too, you metabolically adapt to that. So with that being a big fear, a lot of factors come into reverse dieting, and age is a big one, okay? And how harshly you dieted is another big one. Now, let me talk about age for a minute here. So I've reverse dieted a lot of people. I've reverse dieted 20 somethings, and I've reverse dieted 50 somethings. And let me tell you that age does make a very big difference, and reverse diets are really slow when you're older, okay? Usually like the 35, 40 plus is kind of when I see these bigger changes where it's harder to reverse diet quicker. And sometimes my 20 somethings, I can reverse in a month, and literally we're good. It's crazy how fast I can do that with some of the younger ladies and gentlemen that I've ever reversed before. So you also need to know that when you're stage lean, you do need to put fat back on, right? It's very important for your hormones, especially for females, to have a normal body fat level. We all want to have abs. Having abs as a female in the off season is really hard to keep and not that healthy. If you're younger, it is much easier. If you're older, not very easy. So kind of letting go of the abs, you know what I mean, is sort of an important mental thing to note. Looking at body composition, so I'll explain how I like to reverse diet here in a minute. But tracking your body composition and pictures can be very helpful so that you can see where you're going, because the scale is a very challenging thing. It's great to use for tracking, but it's not always the best form of tracking, because you could be gaining muscle while your weight might be going up or staying the same and you're gaining muscle. That means you are also burning fat, right? And your body's staying in a really good body composition or in a good body fat percentage. So usually I like to have women stay within about 10, maybe 15 pounds of their stage weight. That's kind of a nice little rule of thumb. You might go above that, but tracking body composition will be very important. A lot of females I find are very comfortable in that 18 to 20% body fat range. Any higher than that, generally they might feel a little chubby, but it's still very healthy to be there, in that 22 to 24% body fat range as well. But you're going to have some fluff on the bod. It's healthy and you need it. And you can't stay stick thin forever. It is not healthy. So when you are reverse dieting, you can do it 100 different ways. If you say ended your prep or your diet and you're counting your macros and tracking food, say you ended at 1600 calories and you were doing 30 minutes of cardio 6 days a week. What I usually do that first week, because you are very depleted and you've worked very hard, is I will bump up calories by maybe 200 calories a day, usually by adding carbs, and then I'll cut cardio generally in half. And from there, we'll hold for a week or two, maybe 3 weeks, it may even be 4 weeks, and we're going to see how weight stabilizes or how your body composition stabilizes. So we'll look at measurements, pictures, body fat, and we'll track your weigh-ins as well and see how things go. If your weight holds really well for a week or two, then I'm going to increase calories again, or I'm going to decrease cardio. I usually do one or the other after that initial kind of big change. I'll make much smaller changes the next time. So if weight is holding, body composition and pictures look good, then I will either decrease cardio or increase calories by about 100 calories a day, or decrease cardio by maybe 10 to 15 minutes a session, or take out 1 or 2 sessions in a week and leave the others in. And you'll continue that way for however long it takes. And each change as time goes on may be further apart and it may be smaller. So it might be 20 carbohydrates instead of 50 carbohydrates, or 5 grams of fat instead of 10 grams of fat. But your goal, especially as a bodybuilder, is to get the cardio as low as possible, if not to zero, in your off season, and to get the calories up as high as possible while maintaining a normal body fat percentage. Because you do have to diet that fat back off. So if you do go and into more of the overweight body fat percentages, remember that you've got to diet that back off. So if you do go there, you better make sure that your metabolic rate is darn high, because that prep is going to be harder when you go into it. If you don't reverse diet in your off season and you leave your calories at 1800 calories, or even if you keep a lot of cardio in, when you start your contest prep, your body may respond very slow. It might get very harsh. And I'm telling you, it happens every time. And I kick myself in the pants when I'm like, sure, we'll give this a whirl and see what happens. Even though you didn't get your calories up in the off season and you didn't listen, it makes it for a very hard prep. And then it's just harder to even come off your show. And I believe Jen Hootie, I believe you earlier mentioned in the comments, that reverse dieting is harder than prep. Like 100% agree with that, because now you don't have a goal. You're eating more, so your metabolic rate's firing up, and it's like, oh my gosh, let's eat all the food. So reverse dieting gets to be, I feel, and totally agree with, that it is the hardest part of the whole process, because, and you can feel that fat coming back on. Like, Jenny, I don't know if you experienced this or remember this, but my first figure show, or my first season, I did figure and I got really lean. And when I was reverse dieting back up, I could feel the fat layer come back on my abs, and it was like squishy and weird. And I was like, oh my God, is this always going to feel this weird? What's wrong with this? And eventually it becomes normal again. But it was the weirdest thing to feel fat come back on your body. And it took about a month for me to get used to that, just feeling fat on my abs. Super weird. But it's very important to make sure that just for your hormone balance, that you're getting your calories back up. And if you don't want to gain excessive weight post-show, you've got to do it. And I have a couple of great examples too, even just one recently, but for some, especially for people that have competed season after season, maybe they did fall, spring, fall, and they dieted it down, and each prep was harder and harder, and they got to a place where their calories had to be so low and their cardio so high that their bodies after their show were like, F you, we're eating everything possible for 3 weeks straight. And literally that's what they do. And they gain 30 pounds within 3 days of the show, no lie. And a lot of it is going to be fat because your body's like, let's lay it down. We got to get it back on. You just nearly died because you starved to death. We're going to lay it back down. And you can't get that back off. You have to stay there and maintain that body fat while you reverse calories back up. And then eventually you can recomposition your body, gain muscle, lose fat once hormones are stabilized. But that residual stress of a contest prep or harsh dieting can last up to a year. Like, your hormone imbalance can take a very long time to be restored. So it becomes a very important process. That's not, doing a bodybuilding show isn't just a 4 or 5 month endeavor for prepping. It's your entire 2 years of off season, prep, reverse, another off season if you ever compete again.
Okay, so I have another question then. So let's say it's an average person who's lost a lot of weight, and so they're at a weight that they like. They're good. I'm good right here. And they're watching this and they're saying, so does that mean I can eat more then? So what would you say to someone who has dieted down and they found the weight they like to be at, so they're just going to stick with that calorie load? They're not changing anything about their exercise or activity level. They're just maintaining what they've been doing. Does that person qualify for a reverse, or that's only applicable to someone who's really dramatically decreased their calorie load, like, to the point that they're like very thin and concerning, unhealthy, like, is reverse dieting only for kind of the extreme dieters, or can regular people who've lost the weight say, you know what, I'm going to see if I can eat a little bit more? Or would you not advise that because, no, you found your maintenance, you should stick with it, otherwise you're just going to gain some weight back? Does that make any sense?
That's a great question. So usually if you're not in more of a calorie deficit than say 300 to 500 calories of maintenance, you generally don't need to reverse diet back up because you can add those calories back pretty easily within a week or two and maintain what you've lost if you've, decreased calories, 300 to 500 calories ish. If you're in more of a deficit, then yes, definitely. So if you were just working off of portions, like hand portions, like a portion of protein is the palm size of my hand, or, a serving of carbs is my fist, and you took carbs in or out based on those portions, you can definitely reverse diet back up as well. And it can be totally relevant to that situation as well. Or if someone has been eating very low calories to maintain their body weight, it may be very pertinent to them to try and get calories back up. And that all depends on muscle mass and, their height and age and things like that. Because people can be maintaining at a very low calorie intake when maybe they should be a little bit higher. So it just depends on the situation. But if a person's taking in an average amount of calories already and they're maintaining their weight great, then you know what? Probably not. They could give it a whirl, but it's probably not as relevant or as important because they're already in a decent spot. Now, in those cases, and really in any case, doing a lab test for your hormones is my jam. For everybody, whether you think there's a problem or not, it's a really great idea to have a baseline of where you're at and get a doctor or a person that can read the test and understand the optimal ranges your hormones need to be in, not the functional ranges, because doctors' jobs are just, again, to keep you alive. They don't really care if you're optimal or not. You need to be functional just to survive, right? They're not optimizing your performance or life. So you need someone that can read those levels. The lab test that I think is a really nice, affordable one is Lab Extensions, or no, wait, it's lifeextensions.com. Go to labs and then click on the comprehensive weight loss panel. That is an entire list of things that you can either bring to your doctor, and they may not do it for you, or bring to a hormone doctor and say, hey, I want this done, or just go through lifeextensions.com and they'll send you to a lab and they'll get you those results. You just need someone to read them effectively. So if someone is wondering like, hey, maybe I can get my calories up, really the point of getting your calories up to an optimal level, aside from performance, is to make sure your hormones are stabilized and firing on all cylinders. And so if you're in that spot where you're like, I think I'm eating maintenance calories and I'm thinking, okay, do a lab test. Like, just do it anyway. I'm all about hormone testing, especially as you age, especially as you get older. Do it once a year, do it every 6 months. I have mine tested regularly and I've been doing it for 4 or 5 years now. And that has been one of the best things I could have ever done for my health. Like, chronic stress has tanked my hormones like chronically to the very parasympathetic side, which is very bad. And it's taken me a long time to get things back to normal. So it's very important. Jen had a question on here. I think I might have missed one or two, but she'd mentioned what's a good rate of gaining weight post show. Usually maybe a pound a week-ish. The first week or two might be a bit more for you. It depends on how harsh your diet was. Because again, you do need to get that fat back on. So if you're going to try and do maybe 1 pound in the first couple weeks each week, that may be a little bit too slow. And it will be different for everyone. It will be different. Like if you are starving beyond belief, yeah, you need to get the calories up a little bit more. You shouldn't be starving. You might be hungry here and there, but get those calories up. You're going to gain a couple pounds, maybe 5 pounds within the first couple weeks. Totally fine. Like, great. You need the fat back on. Beyond that, maybe a pound a week or less. It all just depends on your energy levels, how you are feeling, your hunger levels. It's kind of a very play it by ear kind of a thing, but you should be somewhat comfortable. Might be hungry, probably craving things, but you shouldn't be out of your mind starving, if that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense.
I also think we should look at Amanda. She posted that this concept baffles me. I've been in a calorie deficit for such a long time, and I've become accustomed to walking and jump rope cardio that I can't imagine eating more. So, Amanda, I don't know if we can help you without having an actual conversation with each other, but if you're in a calorie deficit, are you still losing weight? And if so, if you don't want to lose weight anymore, then stop where you're at and don't deficit yourself anymore. And if what you mean you're at your maintenance right now, like you're not losing, you're not gaining, doing what you're doing, you're just sticking with where you are. If you're comfortable there, then there's nothing wrong with that as long as you're at a healthy body weight. But if you want to increase calories, I think what Heather's saying is, bump it up 100 or 200 calories, give it a week or two, see how your weight goes. And that, Heather, that brings me to another question real quick. So for regular people, even myself included, I don't have, access to a DEXA scan in my basement. And really all I have to rely on are calipers for me, or a measuring tape, or your scale. So when you say keep an eye on your body composition, how does the average person do that without just relying on the scale? So for me, what would freak me out, I don't weigh myself because it will freak me out. I know better. Wait, what's on the scale isn't true. It might not accurately reflect it, but still, if it goes up, that just messes with me. So I don't go on the scale. But how else would I know if I were to start adding in calories if I'm gaining weight, if that weight is fat, if that weight is muscle, what is it, water? You know, is there a way for someone, just the average person, how would they track that kind of stuff? How would you know that this is working or
Yeah,
not?
I will answer that. And then I want to expand on Amanda's concern as well. Um, so for an average person, if you don't know how to use like body fat calipers, for example, that would be these. You can get them super affordable. I have this pair and I really like it. It's so easy to use. And I have this as well. Another great tool, easy to use. They're super affordable. They come with a little booklet on how to do body fat skin fold tests. And you can actually even do right on your hip, one little quick click, and it actually gives you a pretty decent measure of your body fat level as opposed to doing the tricep and the back and the leg and whatever. Um, but pictures are number one. The only thing about pictures is a lot of times I have clients, they'll send me pictures 4 weeks apart and they're like, I don't see any changes. So maybe I'm not working hard enough, or maybe we need to do something. And I'll look at them and I'm like, are you kidding me? Because you can see the changes in, like, the upper body has leaned out a little bit, or their waist looks smaller. Like if you compare the actual silhouette of the person, you can see those changes, and those are great changes, and weight stayed the same all 4 weeks. So you have to have a really keen eye because that is progress. So I like to have my clients take pictures, do measurements, and do daily weigh-ins if it doesn't make you crazy. And I look at the average weight for the week. I don't look at the daily. There shouldn't be a daily like decline every day. Your weight will fluctuate up and down. It will make you insane. But for an average person that doesn't want to deal with body fat calipers or doesn't want to pay for DEXA scans, which are it's a bone density scanner that does body fat percentage or body composition, which is they're super cool. But those three parameters are awesome. If you just do weight, that does not tell you if you've gained muscle, as you mentioned, Jenny, or have gained fat. Like you have no idea where the weight is coming from, or if it stayed the same, if your body's even changing. Measurements will show that and pictures will show that, but the daily weigh-ins are a really nice kind of accountability too. So take pictures and measurements every maybe 2 to 4 weeks. At 4 weeks, you'll see the most changes, obviously. Every week you can do. Sometimes there's just not enough change to see a difference in weekly pictures, but every 2 to 4 weeks, whatever holds you accountable. But have a second opinion on those because otherwise it'll make you crazy. And then going back onto what Amanda had mentioned, so I don't know how many calories you're eating now and doing a bunch of cardio, but there's a lot of, 22% body fat, trying to get to 18 to 20 or normal. Once I was there, I'll evaluate getting leaner. Okay, evaluate getting less for competing. Got it. Okay, Amanda, if you're going to compete, I wouldn't worry too much about trying to get to 18 to 20 right now. I would try to get that metabolic rate up and just stay at 22. If you're going to compete in the future and you're going to try and diet down now and then reverse back up to prep whenever, next year, the year before, you're probably going to put yourself in a worse position. And I'm willing to bet if you increase calories and take that cardio out, your body's going to be like, oh, we're good. We're not stressed out. Okay, let's fire it up. I've seen that happen so many times. And I was just talking to a posing client today who works with Kirsten Blake, I think is her name, in Wisconsin. Great coach. And she's like, my posing client, she was like, I was eating like 1,500 calories. I was running marathons and biking and doing all this cardio. And she's like, my coach was like, all right, we're going to increase calories by 400 and we're going to take out your cardio. And she started actually dropping fat. So that is one great example that I just talked to, a opposing client today about that situation. And I've come in to that situation with many clients where I'm like, you know what, you can't survive off of this calorie intake. You're eating 14 to 1,600 calories. You're so active. We need to just bump up the calories, maybe 100 a day, maybe 200, maybe 300, and decrease that cardio. So Amanda, I would be willing to bet that I think you are a great candidate for actually reverse dieting. And you might even see that your body will recomposition. So you'll gain muscle and burn fat. Because that's where a lot of people get to. They're working so flipping hard and getting nowhere. And you're actually causing more harm than good. Because that stress on the body plays a huge factor in hindering your goals. And that's where contest prep gets tricky. It's really stress management. When I, maybe this was 3 or 4 years ago, I did a seminar at the Diva Classic Leif Anderson show in Duluth. And that whole talk, all my slides, was basically stress management for contest prep. You've got to be able to manage stress. You have to get super good quality sleep. You need to make sure calories are in a good place before you even start cutting down. You want to do as little cardio as possible to get results. You need to take some supplements like maybe ashwagandha or rhodiola, things like that, to help with stress response of the body, because all of those things, because dieting and doing cardio puts a stress on the body it has to recover from, and that will keep you from losing fat. It just is. Your body goes into this protective mode where it doesn't want you to starve to death and die.
All right. Well, thank you for that, Heather. I do have, I want to make sure I honor all of our time here, but I have one more question on my end, unless someone else has any comments to add. But when you say increase calories, is there a certain macronutrient you should be increasing? Or is it all of them? Is it whatever one you want to increase? So what would you suggest in that area?
Yeah. Hold on one second. Dana, I see your comment. Dana's a client of mine, and we had to get her prep pretty harsh this year. And one of them was off-season setup. Could have been calories went a little bit better. But stress management was a big deal for her in this prep as well, to make sure that we could keep things moving along. But after her show, we increased calories. She's going to do another show this Saturday, because I couldn't keep her on those calories that low for as long as we had kept them. So we bumped calories up about 500 calories, decreased cardio a little bit, and she's still leaning out. So that was really important too. We had to get her down really low to see where we could push it, and then we couldn't stay there. So we had to get calories back up, and having her metabolic rate kind of fire up helped her continue to lean out now. And that's really important. You know, she's not at 2,000 calories. She's still pretty low, but that's a great comment. So she's a great example of kind of this harsh diet that we had to go to and then increase just to let the body know, like, hey, we're okay. You're not starving. And she's still leaning out. So, okay. So back to your question. It was, remind me again.
The macronutrients, if there's one that you should increase.
That's right. So usually I keep protein the same, like generally. So if you were 150 grams of protein or 250 grams of protein in your off season, it probably stayed similar through prep, and it's probably going to stay similar through your reverse diet. Usually I set it about 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight-ish. It could be more or less depending on the person or what our goals are, but for contest prep and off season, that's generally where I set it. So I usually increase carbs first. That's generally where, because that's fueling our muscles and our activity. So we want to get those up. And then I'll alternate carbs and fat, adding carbs and fat. Once cardio's out, I'll start increasing fat as well. So I might alternate adding carbs 1 week and then fat 1 week. And as we go, once we get closer to maintenance calories and we're really trying to push it, I might actually start adding some protein calories just to see how much we can actually get the total calories up. Because protein is really an inefficient source of energy. When you're getting in fairly enough calories, it doesn't store as fat like carbs and fat do. Okay. So kind of as a last ditch effort, kind of to push it to see if calories get up any higher, I might increase some protein, but generally you're increasing carbs and fat, prioritizing carbs, of course, because we are bodybuilders and carbs fuel your muscle. So that's generally how I work it.
All right. Well, and then we see Jennifer wanted to know, nope, I'm sorry, it was Dana wanted to know, ashwagandha, if you have any particular brand that you recommend.
No, I don't. let me look on Amazon here. I'll show you the brand that I usually buy and tend to recommend because I've really liked it so far. You can go to bulksupplements.com. I really like bulk supplements, and they usually have a lot of just pure supplements on there without flavorings in it and all this other junk. This brand I tend to have gotten, it's in a 1950 milligram dose, so it's a little bit higher than the 1200 milligrams I generally recommend a day. But for someone that's high activity level, prepping, I like to knock that ashwagandha dosage up in a day. So this is a little bit higher dose. I really like that one. Otherwise, most of these other ones are pretty good. Just read the ingredient label. It should basically be, you know, ashwagandha. And then if it's a capsule, it might have the, you know, capsule ingredients on there. But yeah, other than that, so this is ashwagandha, black pepper, which may help absorb ashwagandha better. And then just the capsule ingredients. Oops. Where was it?
And I want to say that's Physician's Choice. I see that brand, and while I don't take ashwagandha, I do take a Physician's Choice probiotic, and I find that it helps with my acne. So I do just want to kind of vouch for the brand name. At least it seems like it works for me. So brand. I think that's a good suggestion.
Yeah, absolutely. Agreed. I know there's a bunch of comments popping up, but I have no idea what's happening. I know I saw something about it tastes like licking a tree and something else, and this supplement.
Don't get the powder. Let me just summarize. Don't get ashwagandha powder. Get a capsule.
Yes.
So, thanks for the suggestions, you guys.
Yes. Most of the time, I like eating capsules of a lot of things, unless it's like creatine or glutamine. That's something super flavorless. But all the other stuff, like I got this Camu powder, and that's a natural vitamin C source because, I don't know, the more you research crap, sometimes vitamin C isn't as effective, blah, blah, blah. So I wanted a natural source of vitamin C. Well, I got the powder, and it's red, and it tastes kind of fruity, but really bitter. So when I add it to smoothies, it's really strong flavor, and it adds that bitterness. And I'm like, so capsules are the way to go. So now I take like 80,000 capsules a day, but whatever. It is what it is.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, my phone is going to die, you guys. So I want to say my goodbyes before I suddenly get cut off and you think I just ditched you all. But I want to say, Heather, good luck at your show. What is the date?
It is November 11th through the 16th. So the pros compete on Saturday, amateurs on Friday.
Okay.
So Saturday it is November 13th or 14th, whatever day that is. So
all right.
Wish me luck on the 14th.
Okay.
Wish
and
me luck, people.
Yes, and Dana, sounds like you're competing again, so good luck to you. And Amanda, I know you're getting ready or hoping to go to a show probably next year, I'm assuming, since the season's ending. So keep on keeping on. Join us next time. And it was great talking to all of you. So
yeah,
good.
Thanks, Jenny. Thank you, everybody that joined us. Have a good night.
Yep. See you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.